Hello everybody and welcome back to artofdino.com via saveearth.us, and I've got an interesting collection of screenshots today that I'll talk about briefly and just showcase. This is just a collection of things that I've got and I've saved from that I've seen at school or wherever that I've just been like, I need to save that. Boom. So I gathered a screenshot. It's been going on for months and they all have kind of something interesting about them or made me think something unique, and it's from these videos and a few other videos, some targeted drone footage. So I don't know where a lot of these things are from. You all might, but look at these things, and especially look at the bridge that connects them. So a lot of these will prompt theories about what came first, you know, the buildings or the land mass that covered it all, the melted mass like this one. How does this build? Would they build right next to a mountain like that, or did that definitely get filled in, melted, and then harden on top of it? It looks like different things of clay and different microcosmic things that I've seen before. But then also a collection of things like this at the tops of massive mountains, giant things and buildings and cities and temples, things that would take immense amounts of effort to bring the materials up to. And also places like this where along rivers are just covered with things that look like ancient cities, ancient pyramids, ancient structures. And civilizations may have used the pyramid a lot differently than we think. They could be links to underground worlds. There could be so much. The underground and sea level may not have been the same in the past. And there's so many places like this where you see these buildings, these massive buildings and temples, and you have to wonder what's underneath them. What is the framework? What is that? What is the massive structure that they're on, that massive land mass? And again, how do they get all these materials there in the past? Couldn't be just donkeys and things and yaks and stuff like that. Had to be something else. But look at also the pyramidal shapes of these. Unbelievable. A lot of these are up north, Spitsbergen and things like that, but some are in the Himalayas as well. But those are perfect, almost like Mount Lhasa, which might be a couple of these as well. But these things, I'm telling you, there is something about our distant past that has left these looking like mountains. They're left us as mountains, but for the past, they were 100% something else. This is just the ruins. This realm is nothing but ruins of a once amazing place. And this is over in the center of of Asia over there, the Mongolian area, and absolutely amazing as well. And I wonder again if there's anything underneath it, if this land area is sacred, if there was a battle here, if there was something that made them put this here. You know, maybe this is the home of an old king, an old Khan, or an old village or something that was destroyed. But again, more and more glimpses of just a ruined landscape like this, these circular things that flow into, in the waterfalls, in the pathways that lead to them. I also want to re-envision and rethink waterfalls and different cascading rivers, because that might have been an old purification method, that all might have been underneath buildings, and it's in old sewer systems, all these different things. This is in Russia, I believe. I'm not sure, maybe some other place, but look at that, amazing. And look at this, boom. How could we not dig into these things? This is basically like a collection of things that if I could LiDAR them, I would. And if I could tap right into them and dig a tunnel right through the middle center, I would definitely do it. Because there has to be stuff here. Again, it looks almost as if I almost begin to think that, like, beyond this realm, there's a company, a massive company, construction-ish company, that is in charge of resetting landscapes, going over, combing lands, and making it impossible to recognize. And then they have a new history, and a new whole world can be built from them, from the ashes of what people are then seeing as their prime, primitive, perfect, pure world, when actually it's been destroyed multiple times. And this, again, waterfalls, the things, was there something massive in there that got dug out, extracted? A tree, was that extracted? Massive metal, massive structures. And again, you see these structures in causeways all the time, and they're like, oh, those are volcanic things. They just formed up in perfect cubes. No way. Absolutely not. Those things are all over the place. That was an ancient form of building, 100%. And then India, just a massive world that's just so different from ours that I just can't help but love it and just be amazed by it. Same with this, Rajasthan, and all kinds of different other places in India that have just structures like this that lend themselves to the idea that things were once all like this. Everything was once orchestrated and cultivated and architected. And then when it gets ruined, it It turns to rubble, it turns to sand, it turns to dirt, it turns to the other natural things that they were made of, and then seeds enter it through the wind and things start to grow on it and no one can know. And that's just the way it happens. The weather smooths everything out. It makes everything go. And you see a lot of different things like this. And again, along the coastlines, places that are 100% not from our people, not from our minds, our human minds. They are from some other ancient mind and most likely something bigger. And look at that. How long was that? A massive wall at one point? That long extinction, what did that look like in its prime? Were there things all over the place? Was the water further deep, or was that water around where those houses are? You never know. And these places, if I was a scuba diving archaeologist, I would dive in the bottom of all of these and search all around them, excavate underneath, find some treasure, find where the foundation for those things are. How did they ever do that? How do you ever build a foundation in that water unless it wasn't always water? And again, these things, towers everywhere, not only in the American West, everywhere. But the Grand Canyon right here, boom, this thing, look at that, looks like an urn up at the top. There is just multiple layers, different constructions, different stone. You can see the different sizes of the stones that were built. This was actually from a domino video where a girl that I've watched that does amazing domino patterns ended up kind of making a domino pattern in this place. I think it's the National Hall Gallery in Washington, D.C. or something like that. But just look at those columns. In the detail at the very top of those columns. Those things are absolutely unreal, and there's no way they were crafted in any time around 1800s. Those clearly look like ancient things that have maybe traveled the world throughout time, maybe constructed at some distant multiple thousands of years ago, and now they're here holding up this building. Who knows? Again, things like this, whether it's a sinkhole or a hole where something was extracted, a tree, a giant building blown up, a bunch of wood, a giant wood structure could have been destroyed. You never know. So many different things, a bunch of sandstone structures, some crystals could have been extracted, metals, and these gates. All these different things over here, Bali. Wow, that place is just unbelievable. If they could dig and lidar everything, they'd find so much. And again, look at these along the coast, along every single coast. Just so much hints that it was something else before, that everything was something else. What we see, what we've been taught about the processes of geology are just total baloney. They are just not. If you don't factor in distant wars and distant cataclysmic destructions, you will get nowhere. And these places, again, famous places, but look, what were they? Were those all architected, those all built? What kind of army would it take to build that? The population of the world would have to be in the trillions almost to make an entire realm this advanced. And again, I guarantee that these buildings still exist in their prime beyond the realm, beyond the poles. In those waterfalls, I guarantee cascades, they were some kind of tech, some kind of water purification tech or water fuel, water energy gathering, things that people use all over. Travel was obviously key. But again, the world that we see is totally different. And look at this, God, look at this. So many different things with the house on top. How do you get the materials up there? How is it possible? And again, all that grass, that looks like stuff that, again, crushed to dust and then settled and then grass grew on it. But if you could dig all those up, what would you see? When would you get to a point where you see a building instead of meltedness? Look at that. That looks like a World Expo building. That whole thing looks like a World Expo that was just fried and cooked, and then the desert sun choked it out and crushed it. No moisture, boom, just sinks and dries. These, again, that could be anything. Those could be columns for some massive thing that was on top of it. These places, again, like Mont Saint-Michel in France, all these castles that are on these islands, again, what is at the center if you were to dig down and go down there? And was that always surrounded by water or no? Is there so many towns have been buried by water and damming and different things like that would just lose whole villages, whole towns, everything underwater, and nobody goes and digs because it's cold and it's etc. But again, boom, this is one of those perfect examples of the sand that piles up on the side. And if you could dig out all that sand and excavate it, what would be the bottom? Would you see doorways? Would you see arches? Would you see different things and entrances that were clearly blocked up intentionally? And just these mountains, the Alps, the Himalayas, just mind-boggling. Those don't even look real, but they are. And this, again, boom, something incredible was there. Whether it's a tree or a structure, the way I think it looks like a structure to me, the way it's got those layers, but again, cooked out, and what is in the middle? What is in the middle? I want someone to just say, hey, DiNo, there's nothing in the middle of those. And I'd be like, okay, fine, whatever. But until we find out, we will never know. And these things are perfect. The imagination just runs wild. All of these places, like Greenland, looks like this all over the place. What is hiding underneath these mounds of dirt? Did airships take them in? Was it all just wind? Was it just a cataclysm that blew it on? A bunch of waves? All this stuff. So many different theories, but again, need some action. These, again, more places like this, these castles, all these different things. And even think about Bermuda, which I'm going to do a video on soon. Just an island in the middle of nowhere, which I think was for ancient defense purposes. But the road to discovery is long and dry and painful because we are being duped in every direction, and we have to think outside of the box that we've been confined to mentally. So keep digging, everybody. I hope you enjoyed some of these. Add some theories. Let me know some other ones. Send some links. Do whatever. Bless you all.